For the very last section of our video blog, we didn't have to go seek out an hour by ourselves, but we were able to choose kind of any situation over the last 3 weeks that's made us uncomfortable or that's made us really think about the situation that we are in. So for this last reflection, I chose to talk about our very first night in Paris together. We had all gone out to dinner together right across the street from our hotel, and we're trying to make lists of the things that we all thought were important, the things that we all wanted to see. And among 14 very different people, these lists were obviously all very different. I think it really showed through kind of what our majors and our personal interests were as well. A lot of the historical sites were more important to like me and some of the social studies people. A lot of the more artistic sites were important to others on the trip, which is awesome, and I think it's great, and I think it really shows how diverse the city of Paris was. But I think the fact that we only had like a day and a half to 2 full days to actually see all of the things and see an entire city like Paris was a little bit intimidating. And it was still fairly early on in the trip. We were only about halfway, and we were still in the process of all getting to know each other, so that was wearing on our decisions, I think, a little bit too. So we got out maps, and we got out travel books, and we got out guidebooks, and Rick Steve was a big friend of ours. And we're putting together lists of the things that we wanted to see and prioritizing things based on like the more number of people that wanted to see some of the sites, because it was important to us to try and stay together, and I think we wanted to do as many of the things as a group, as the 14 of us, as we could, which I think was great, and I think it was really well intentioned, and I was glad that it was important to all of us to try and stick together and to see things as a group, because we hadn't had a chance to do that quite as much earlier in the trip. As I said in my last blog, I think the thing that I'm actually learning from this trip and actually learning from this assignment in particular is not really how I function as an independent person, but more how I function in groups. It hasn't happened a whole lot of times in my life, and I think it's only going to happen a lot more, that I have to make decisions with groups of people that I'm not used to making decisions with. As of right now, it's usually, you know, it's my peer groups, it's my friends, it's my family that I'm making big choices with. And more I'm put into situations where I don't know the people that I'm making decisions for, like co-workers and for students and for older peers. And so I think working with such a diverse group of people and working to make decisions for a group when you don't necessarily know everyone's background is the really challenging part. And I think that came out a lot in Paris. I was terrified when we were trying to make this plan. It seemed completely unrealistic. It seemed like way too many things to do. And the fact that the 14 of us hadn't even been able to like get dinner at the same place yet for the trip, seemed strange that we were going to try and do 2 full days of sightseeing together, but I was really, really impressed. Everyone was willing to compromise, and everyone was willing to go see other things that they maybe hadn't heard of, and we ended up with a plan and kind of a timetable for everything, and I'd say it worked about 75% of the time, which was much higher than I was expecting, which was a nice surprise. So yeah, I think overall it was a positive experience. In the moment, it made me uncomfortable because I was worried about stepping on people's toes. I was worried about voicing my opinion, even though it is sort of a self-preservation aspect of this, where I wanted to see the things that I came to see. And I think all of us negotiating those choices made it a really interesting experience.